everyone. We are joined by Hyphen ahead of his biggest headline show today.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the questions, how are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good. My main overarching feeling right now is hunger, not of like an emotional sort. I'm literally just starving. Maybe that's distracting me from nerves, but yeah, man, I'm good.
Awesome. You played a sold-out headline show with us last year.
Yeah.
You then doubled that capacity start of this year, and now you've doubled that capacity again for this show coming up, coupled with an engagement touring with Bob Vylan, which we'll go to in a little bit, and mentions of quitting music. Fair to say it's been quite a bit of a year?
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been fun. It's been energizing, but tiring. Yeah, it's been a lot. But it's good though, right? It's all good stuff.
You've spoken plenty at your shows and on social media about how music has helped you and, I guess, Hyphen as an artist. But I want to know what your earliest memories of music and creativity are.
I mean, I guess I had between the ages of like 0 and 12, I like to draw things. I like to like be quite expressive. But then I guess I was in an environment. I don't know. I'm South Asian. Like my parents didn't. The South Asian immigrants, the idea of like doing art or music, it just wasn't like a thing that people did. And so like then from the ages of 11 to 18, even more than that, 11 to 22, I guess, I was just working quite hard at school, doing quite conventional academic things. I studied like philosophy and economics. So I was doing nothing to do with music. That part of me kind of atrophied, I think. Then I was working a job I just like was so miserable in. My mental health was awful. Then I kind of refound this like writing things as a way of expressing myself. And then I was just like, fuck, why don't I just do this? I mean, obviously it's more steps in between than that, but I found a love for it again, and I was like, oh, I really enjoy this, and let me see what I can do with it. Basically. That was it.
Coming back to this year, supporting Bob Vylan. Going to do a quick shout out to Danielle here for making that happen.
Yeah.
How was that? Any favourite memories, lessons learned?
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. First things first. Bob Vylan are amazing. They're amazing people. They really like showed me how this works, which is like wonderful to just like be around, but then also just see how they conduct themselves, both as like artists, but then also as like sort of like the wider music industry. So that was amazing. In terms of highlights, there were 2 shows, Manchester and Paris. So Manchester was just fucking massive. Can I swear? Sorry, it's too late now. Manchester was huge. It was like 2,500 people. It was like the biggest show I've done by far. And like just generally in the UK tour, it was really nice to see that like, I don't know, I was just doing my thing and people seemed to like it and they seemed to connect with it. And I guess between Bob Vylan and I, there's like an overlap of audiences. And so like seeing that it connected, like obviously, you know, if somebody's paying to come see you, they're like in the mood to see you. Whereas these are people who, they were in the mood to see Bob Vylan, and then I'm just a stranger. And so the fact that it connected, I was like, took a real, not a huge encouragement from that. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. And then, so that kind of peaked with Manchester, because it was so fucking big, and everyone's singing the words, and like, fucking hell, it's getting great. And then Paris, it was like, we were in like a boat underwater in some like venue that you could like feel the movement of the water when you were standing on it, and just like sometimes magic is in the air and everything connects and the audience are there for it and everything sounds perfect, and I felt like it was the best I've ever performed, and it felt like the crowd were really there for it. But generally Europe was great as well. Again, the whole same thing, like it was really encouraging to see that like, oh shit, this is connected. So yeah, it was amazing. The thing that I learned is to look after my fucking voice. Jesus, there was one show I had to cancel because I lost my voice on stage. That was nightmarish. Apart from that, it was just great.
One thing that you mentioned in particular as a takeaway from being on the road with Bob Vylan was being at the merch stall throughout the evening, which you're going to do again tonight.
Yeah.
Why did this particularly stand out to you?
I mean, I guess I'm always after shows, and you could attest this, you've been to my shows, like, I'll stay around, I'll talk to people, because I'm just like, don't be a dickhead about this, right? Like, people have paid to come see you, and that already is like a kind of magical thing. and you should meet that with the gratitude that it deserves. And if people want to speak to you, and that is a thing that's valuable, and also just like, I don't know, man, I just like chatting to people. I think it's a nice thing to do. It was seeing that Bob Vylan, even at the scale that they're at, they create this sense of community by being involved at the merch stand. People want to support you. That's like the next step. Not only do they like your stuff, they really want to support you. Keep going. So they're coming up to buy your shirt. The least you could do is be there to say thanks. Do you know what I mean? And they were doing it at shows of thousands and thousands of people. So who am I? I'm not a fucking dickhead. Do you know what I mean? You can do it like.
Yeah, the lines were huge.
Just you gotta do it, and it creates community, which is kind of the point of doing any of this. You feel more connected to the art, and also it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, if people seem to like it, it's a good reason to do it.
You spoke about quitting music. Since touring, you've decided not to, but you are taking a little break. Yeah. Can you tell us what kind of led to this?
Yeah. So, I mean, roller coaster of a year, mental health wasn't great. Then I was like, I just need a break. But then, more generally than that, like when I was looking at like what future options there were available to me in the music industry, none of them seemed overly appealing, because all of them seemed to require that I sacrifice some part of the authenticity of it. And I'm like, what is the point of this? I've started this in the context of being like, I want to be my true self, whatever the fuck that means, but I want to be true to myself. And so then now I'm going to do all of this work only to do like some bullshit, which like I'm not going to do that. And so at that point it looked like I'd rather take no option than take a bad option. That's what was in my head. Then I went on tour with Bob Vylan, and they just showed me like, just seeing how they did things, I was like, oh, there's a very different version of this that's possible. Like a version of it which retains what it requires is that you stand on the merch stand. Yeah. And it requires that you're really involved, that you can't stand off it. You've got to be involved. But then I like that anyway. And just seeing how they, from a business perspective, how they do things, from a creative perspective, how they do things, it showed me like a new version of this that was possible. And so like I still need a break because fuck me, I am running on fumes. But in terms of like my future in this, I feel like I have more of a path, and that is helpful to me.
And so, I've been waiting to do this for a while. I'm not fucking leaving!
I've been to a fair few of your shows now, and one thing that comes up without fail is optimism.
Yeah.
For someone who hasn't yet come to your shows and listened to you talk about it, can you explain why that message is so important to you?
Dude, the world's a shitty place. It's just as simple as that. Like, the world is like kind of miserable and not fair and shitty in many ways. And if you can do anything that improves, I guess this is going way back to my mum. My mum was always just like, I don't know, just like if you could do something useful, do something positive, like just fucking do it. Like we're all fucking eating a massive dick out here. Like no one is having fun. And if you have some ability to like do something that's useful, and it turns out, and I'm going to say this on stage later, that like me just telling my story appears to be valuable for people. And so if that's the case, then I'm just going to keep doing it until it's no longer useful for people. Like that's just, that's kind of what it was. And so gigs for me are like the ultimate, like you're feeling shit about the world, you need some reasons for optimism, and I think like part of what I'm trying to do is give like a demonstration by showing in my life what gives me optimism or what keeps me going, what keeps me hopeful, even though I'm let's not kid ourselves, right? The world is fucked, like on so many different levels. And so, whatever you can do to kind of find some optimism in that, you should share it. That's kind of the ethos behind it.
You also tend to mention your parents and their journey here quite a lot. Particularly given, the politics of your songs. Yeah. You receive a fair amount of racism.
Oh my God, so much.
Great
so
comments,
much.
But you generally seem to handle them with a real grace and lightness. How does your heritage, your background play into your artistry?
It's a great question. It's a part of who I am, and therefore it's a part of the art I make. Like, art is a reflection of self when it's done authentically, and I am unavoidable. Like, it's not something I it's what I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am, and I'm really proud of so many aspects of, like, what my parents have done, like, my family history. Like, there's really, like the part of India that we're from, there's such, like, intrigue and fascination there. And I'm like, in me understanding that and me kind of trying to tell the story of, like, their experiences of being a South Asian person, kind of going from what they're used to something new, and the experiences of people being racist to us, you're like, I don't know, in a sense I'm continuing that story, which I'm kind of, that lineage, which I'm kind of proud of anyway. And then by telling my story now, I'm sort of, in some way, I hope, continuing that thread.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's too, like, conceptual or whatever, but, like, that's how I feel about it. And, like, I don't know, my granddad was a poet, which I think probably something slipped in my head at some point. Yeah, man, I think that's it's a big part of who I am. I talk about it in every fucking song, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So staying somewhat on that thread, one thing that I really love that you do, you open up and allow people to put themselves forward to be your support artists. But alongside that, at least for your last few shows, you've always made sure to have a fellow South Asian on stage.
Yeah.
It's really great to see, you know, someone who's upcoming in their own right, but still supporting new and upcoming. What does that mean to you?
Oh my god, so much. Like in a really dumb way, the paths that we think we can walk are at least in part dictated by what we've seen walk before. I've seen a person who looks like me do this, I can do that. And there's just no South Asian people doing this. There is, or very few, right? I can't think of many in our scene that I'm in. And, like, part of me now, as I do this more, I'm like, I don't know, man. I guess a few people like my shit, and if that means that somebody who's just at the start has a bit of an example, great. And if that means more people do it as a result, great. Like, South Asian people help. Again, this is going back to my family history. Like, I know of my family, many people were artists. Many people were interested in the world that I'm interested in. But when you come to the UK, there's a very, like, selective, narrow version of being South Asian. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Do the doctor, be a lawyer, doctor, my dad's a doctor, whatever, like, it's fine. But, like, that's a very narrow view of what is possible. Yeah, like, and, like, you know, there's many reasons why that is. There's, like, you know, South Asian pressure. I understand the immigrant pressure to be successful, but then there's also racism. And so I'm like, if I'm showing what's possible, hopefully that's useful. And then when it comes to supporting other artists, I'm like, yeah, man, like, you gotta, and that's how you build a scene. That's how you build things. You kind of link arms, and then you're stronger. You know what I mean? So I hope that's useful. I'll keep doing it. Yeah, I'll keep doing it.
Well, we definitely love to see it.
Yeah.
So, okay, just before we wrap up, some quick fire questions for you. Who is someone from the Asian community that you would love to collaborate with?
Hanuman Kind. He's, like, the biggest South Asian artist there is. I'm inspired by him. You know, fucking, that's never gonna happen. He's so huge, but, like, you're talking about, like, yeah. I mean, that'd be pretty fucking good. Also, I love what he's done in terms of, like, he's been such a, like, you know what the unfortunate thing with South Asian representation? It's never cool to be South Asian. It's never shown as cool. This motherfucker is cool as shit. And he's global. And I'm like, that is a big deal. That's never happened before. Not in the same way. Like, you know, Jay Sean is really big, but, like, in this scene, in this way, where, like, he's the motherfucker. And I love that. And, yeah.
Okay, so if someone is new to your music, which song would you recommend they listen to first?
I mean, I gotta go with what the people want. My most played song is Marching Powder. It's about the fact that, you know, I wrote it during lockdown or whatever when I was doing, like, shit tons of cocaine. And I just find it, like, and it's, like, humorous to me conceptually that, like, the thing that your average person who, like, goes out on a night out and a normal person and everybody's having in common is, like, a love of cocaine. You know what I mean? In London, it's just like everyone's doing it. And yeah, that probably summarises a lot about me as an artist. I'm trying to be funny in some way, I'm trying to be political in some way, but also, like, hopefully fun and dance. You know what I mean?
in your live sets, you
Yeah.
tend to have like a fun cover song or an entrance song.
Yeah.
Any particular standout moment of those so far?
I always walk out to Everybody by Backstreet Boys just because it's sick. And I just love that it gets a reaction from the crowd without me doing anything. So that's pretty universal. That tends to happen everywhere. So yeah, I like that.
And then last question, your one piece of advice for new artists.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going, and don't have this like, oh, because I'm not making money from it, I'm not a real artist, or like, I'm only a real artist when I've made it or I've signed to label. It's all bullshit. Like all these like label things, management things, it's all fucking bullshit anyway. You are, by engaging in art and continuing to grow as an artist, you're doing a beautiful thing, and that is it. That is worth it, and keep going, keep growing. But like, people get so like, you're still okay. I've gone on an international tour, and somebody might look at that and be like, "Wow, I still have a job. I'm gonna have a job for a while." Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna quit this anytime soon. So don't get too hung up on that shit and keep going.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and we cannot wait to see you smash it. Yes.
Fuck yeah! I need some food, right?